Hi everybody and welcome. I'm just going to talk to you today because, how would I say, the simple pleasures of life. And that's one thing that the angels would often remind me. You know, when the angels would say to me, Lorna, get up and go for a walk, or make yourself a cup of tea and go for a walk with your mug of tea in your hands. And that is such a simple pleasure. And again, it's something that I'm so thankful for. Because, how would I say, at times when I would do that, when the angels would tell me, I could be walking up a lane. It could be in the middle of the night. And it's so peaceful and so pleasurable. It's the only word I can describe it with because it fills me with joy. Or I could take my cup of tea and I go for that walk with it in my hands. Maybe it's very cold out and the warm tea is keeping my hands warm, and I'm walking across the fields and I'm looking at everything that is around me. And then at times the angels would remind me, Lorna, allow yourself to see. And of course then everything would change. But simple pleasures, we forget that doing something simple like going for a walk with a cup of tea in your hand and being silent and still, you are connecting spiritually, and how that simple pleasure can fill you with peace and love. And so many of these things we forget all about. It's like I have knitting here, and seeing the knitting basket and the ball of wool and the needles remind me of, at times in Maynooth, in the little cottage, sitting at the fire in the evening time and the children are asleep. I thank God for that simple pleasure when I would have, I'd be knitting them a jumper or a cardigan, or it would be something, and I would be knitting away. That simple pleasure of that joy that we forget. Wrapping the wool around my fingers and putting it through the stitch and just doing that. And even, how would I say, I would meditate. I would be in prayer when doing this simple pleasure, knitting. And I love it because, again, it would help me to be still, to be quiet. And God would say to empty your mind. Even though my hands would be moving, and I may even be looking down at what I'm knitting, but it would disappear because I would be in prayer while doing this simple pleasure. The simple things of life that we completely forget about. So I would love you today, or maybe during the week, after you have seen this little video, to think about any simple pleasures that you do, that you don't even notice, that you take for granted, and ask your guardian angel to help you to enjoy them in a way that you have never enjoyed them before. Having a little difficulty. Oh no, it's okay. And of course, sometimes after knitting and sitting by the fire on a cold winter's night, doing something so simple, time would pass And when I would look, I'd realize, oh my God, look at the amount I did. Isn't that wonderful? The simple pleasures of life we forget about so much, and we shouldn't. And again, we should be grateful and thankful for all of these incredible things. Like one other thing I used to do, just sharing it with you, I loved, so I'm going to take this over. I loved in the evening, because I cannot, turn around and write a letter. So I would piece of paper or, an old copy of the children, and I would just start to, how would I say, I might draw a boat, or I might just scribble and let the pen run around in that way. And I would just enjoy doing that so much. And I have to say, I would many a time draw a boat. And of course I would draw a boat because going fishing with my dad, and I would put the rowers in and the little knobs, and sometimes put my dad sitting in the boat as well, and have all the waves of the water going along. Because again, it would remind me, and just now that I think of it, it was a simple pleasure of life, and it brought so much joy. It brought peace. And so many of us are looking for peace in our lives. We're saying, I want to feel peaceful, I want to feel good, I want to feel happy, I want to feel, that I'm safe. I want to feel joy. And all of that is peace, and all of that is love. And I suppose that's how I would write. I would scribble or draw, and sometimes on a scribble, then I would turn the paper in different ways to see what else I can see within the scribble, and then I would draw it. Sometimes I might see a swan, sometimes I might see a person, and I would draw them, or even at times a pram, or a dog, or a flower, or just a mountain. So just remember, for yourself, just think for a moment and say to yourself, what simple pleasures are you missing out in your life? What simple pleasures are you taking for granted and ignoring them, and not realizing that when you are doing something that is so simple, like maybe it's knitting, maybe it's drawing, maybe it's out picking flowers, maybe it's doing gardening, maybe it is a simple pleasure that you love, cleaning, in the sense, giving a spring clean to your home and not looking on it as work, but as something that gives you joy. So maybe think about that today, as many simple things that you do every day that give you pleasure, they give you peace. And know that, again, I will remind you that your guardian angel would be right there with you every single moment. So I just want to say, love you and bless you. Okay, bye-bye. Love you.